it's Tom. This is day 35, 100 days of making minis. And today, it was a bit of a mishmash of things as I was, I don't know, just kind of trying to figure out what exactly I want to focus on. So I'm going to jump around a couple different spots and show you what I did today.
Alright, so the first thing I did was I started this little thing here, which doesn't look like much, but it's element I'm going to be doing for my next video. And fortunately I got a lot farther on it, but I realized that I needed to tackle the way I was going to teach this a little bit differently, so I've got to redo this part here, but shouldn't be too much, just gotta redo a little bit of work. So the other fun thing I did was, so here's the armature that I made yesterday using that gold 20 gauge wire, but I wanted to see, because I don't know if you remember, I said that, or maybe I don't remember if I mentioned this. Anyways, back in the day when I used to try and make these armatures with solder, I would use galvanized steel and I could not get it to work. And I think it's just because I was trying to do it the proper way, which is to heat up the wire or the place where you're gonna join the solder and not actually melt the solder itself. But I kind of broke down and just melted the solder onto the iron and kind of blobbed it on there. And that worked for both, because neither of these wires were really heating up, which maybe if I had a better soldering iron, maybe it would work better. But anyways, regardless, both worked fine. So I like that because the galvanized steel is just, well, it's technically a little thin. You really can't tell, but it is just a touch easier to bend. So I might actually go back to Hobby Lobby where I got this wire, and I might buy the same gold but get the slightly thinner gauge if I need something a little thinner. But I like the gold because you can tell a lot easier if the solder is completely covering the join. With the silver wire, you know, it's bright and silvery, it's a little hard to tell. Like back here, I think it's all the way around. If it is, it's a super thin layer, but I can't really tell. So it's staying on there though, so that's the important part. All right, on to the next station. And this is what I worked on for the rest of the time. This is Sketchbook Pro, and I've been working in some various art programs for drawing digitally because I want to try and do more of that. For the biggest reason is for the coloring. I do enjoy drawing digitally, but I typically draw traditionally. But I have lots of experience with that, but I have no experience with coloring or painting. I mean, that's not true, but I really haven't done it since college. And I think with my sensibilities and skill level, I think it'd be easier to just do it digitally. So anyways, but I was using Photoshop, and it is a cool program. I use it all the time for work. It's great, but it's very bloated, and I know everybody uses it for drawing digitally, but I really think it's because it's just what everybody uses for drawing digitally, not because it's really the best thing. It definitely has a lot of cool settings and neat things, but there's also some just very basic things that it can't do that would make drawing easier, like some of these built-in symmetry tools. I'm not sure if Sketchbook has it, but a lot of programs will have these quick flip functions. I know that Photoshop now has, is this gonna work? Let's see. Well, this isn't working. I know Photoshop has a built-in, there we go, touch rotating, but it's not very good. And I've also found, by not very good, it's not very sensitive. Like I feel like it doesn't register my, when you do this, zooming in and out and stuff very easily. This is very dynamic, and it's got an auto lock, things like that. And there's just a lot of other little functions in Sketchbook Pro that are very easy to use when you are only drawing with a pen and maybe a couple quick hotkey buttons off to the side and no keyboard. So I used this a long time ago, and I've started to use it again a couple years ago, and I was enjoying it, but not entirely. Like some of the built-in pens weren't quite to my liking. So, but I sat down today, I'm like, okay, I think this is going to be the program that I'm going to like, that I'm going to want to use. So I'm just going to make myself mess with this. So this is just the basic pencil tool here that I drew this guy with. And then I started scribbling with all these other, I can't see some of that because it's blown out. Let me see if I can change, there we go. Just getting a feel for everything. There's a lot of cool brushes, and they're constantly, like almost every week there's a new set or a couple brushes that you can download. But for me, I typically mostly drawing with a pencil, and then I'll sometimes ink. But I like to do my finished drawings just with tightened pencils, and their pencil just wasn't quite doing it for me, and this touch thing isn't doing it for me either. Okay. That's funny. I had no problem using this at all today until this very moment. Anyways, it doesn't quite feel like a real pencil to me sometimes, but it's not bad. So I played around with a bunch of settings and stuff. See this? It's got a lot of functions, but the basic pencil is just these two functions, which is I think why I wasn't getting exactly what I wanted out of it. But I made this little brush here, which I'm still going to play with it, but so down here I started, with this little pencil sketch of this kid, and then this is basically like, I guess technically it would be my ink brush, but it doesn't feel the same as a pen. But I just like how it's more like drawing with like a Pigma pen, but I like how I can make it fat and thin, and I can just, so basically at that stage I can be very sketchy and pencil-y and rough things in, and then when I'm ready I can make a new layer, and then I can start doing these more tight things where I can be a little more deliberate with my lines. That's how I drew this stuff. I would just draw the line for the face, and that was it, and put in a little squiggle for the ear, things like that. I don't like that. That didn't look very good. There we go. Yeah, so it's a really cool program. I've been using it on the 15-day free trial because in order to have access to all this pen editing and some of the other functions, because another thing with Sketchbook is it can be fun to draw on and good to draw on, but you can't change the document size, and the only way to, not the only way, but depending on the resolution of your document greatly influences how your pens and pencils will function, especially when it comes to this pencil. This pencil is completely different if it's like a 72 dpi document versus a 300 dpi document. It's weird. Like it can't go as dark, and it's all just because of the resolution involved. Okay, well, I talked for a really long time, but hopefully people got a kick out of this and look forward to drawing some concepts in here for some upcoming miniatures. So, all right, I'll see you tomorrow.